Hello my friends, Gabriel here and welcome to Planetside 2. We're going to tackle the question, what is Planetside 2? With recent updates, the name of the game has been changed, and if you're new to the Planetside Universe, then allow me to be your guide. First off, Planetside 2 is an MMO first-person shooter that takes place in a futuristic science fiction setting. Yes, this means that there's alien technology that mankind has benefited from, but we'll get into that later. A new player will be thrust into battle that seemingly never ends because there is no end. The player base cycles through the planet and is always in an all-out war. The battles are fought between three factions in real time, so there's never a lull in the action. The Terran Republic, who are adorned in red and gray. The New Conglomerate, who proudly wear blue and yellow. And the infamous Vanu Sovereignty, who love their tight purple spandex. There's history and lore behind this crisis and its never-ending mass murder and chaos, but that's for another video. This battle is fought on land and in the sky. There's many MMO aspects like earning experience and gaining certifications which can be spent on specializing your character and vehicles, as well as the newest edition of gathering and crafting. Now the crafting isn't as intense as some survival games may be, but you will sure have to fight for your survival in here. There can be thousands of players on simultaneously fighting in these battles. Don't be surprised if 300-man Zergs run into each other and create a bit of chaos. Hopefully, your system can handle the abuse. Each faction has a similar set of classes, all with unique weapons. There are some weapons that can be purchased to keep similarity throughout each faction, but it's highly unnecessary. One big factor that kept me interested in this game is the fact that it's definitely not pay to win. The best weapons can be easily unlocked with certifications for each class, and honing your skills with said weapons will leave you competing with the best of the best. Now, I'm not that great of a player, but I do know that a lot of my outfit's top infantry players are not members of Daybreak Games and have some of the highest KDR and accuracy rates with the base weapons in the game. It's wonderful news, right? Did I mention this game was also free to play? Oh yeah, that's sexy. Now, you can still buy gear and goodies to change your aesthetic look, but again, it's 100% unnecessary. Back to the fighting. The planet that this is all taking place on is called Araxis. Araxis is made up of currently 5 continents. We have the arid desert plains of Indar, where you seem to find most of the action. This was one of the first continents made and has a lot of history for players. The next continent would be the frozen but beautiful wastes of Esamir. This is my personal favorite continent, as its terrain promotes healthy vehicle combat, but the bases within promote fun and interesting infantry play. Next, we have the mountainous and forested hills of Amarish. This is a difficult map for ground vehicles, which leaves the skies open for the hungry. Quality aircraft pilots here can utilize the terrain to hit ground units and make a literal killing on the leaderboards. On to our last major continent created so far, the soggy wet jungles of Hassan. This is a giant swampy basin with lots of beautiful flora and great hiding places for combat. Thick jungle floors make traversing with vehicles difficult, and an almost endless canopy of trees can blot out shots for aircraft. This makes infantry play here really exciting, as most of the bases are built into the terrain and have lots of good cover. Lastly, we have the small continent of Koltir, which has been a great addition and is useful to newer players, as the level cap here is 15. New players can join in here and learn how to fight the other factions in a fair and balanced area. There's not many bases, but the map is large enough for some fun vehicle fights as well as infantry fights in the unique bases. Another area to mention is the VR training area, which every faction has their own unique area. Players can come here when they're in a waiting pool to go on to the main continents and practice their skills with pretty much anything that they can get their hands on. Everything is free, and you can utilize any weapons to test them out and see what you like for yourself. Go ahead, run around in a vehicle and blow things up with different weapons, or spend some time practicing those headshots, so when you go into the actual game, you're a menace to the enemy. Throughout each continent, there are zones commonly called hexes that house bases. Bases can have from 1 to 4 points of interest on them, which act as a quote-unquote king of the hill location. Taking one of these locations will start flipping the base towards your faction's favor, and eventually take it for your faction so you can spawn in and utilize the facilities within. The timers are different depending on how many points are at the actual base. This can change throughout the fight as points fluctuate from faction to faction. There are small tiny bases to massive multi-hex structures that make up an area. These are the main points of focus on the map, as each one has a different benefit for your faction. Pay attention to the map and you can have better chances of finding an opening and taking a base or shutting the door on the enemy's face. Enough about where you're fighting, let's talk about what we're fighting for. Each faction has its own lore, but the place I want to spend my time is with the player base. Planetside 2 is filled with amazing and fun outfits, much like guilds that promote healthy play for all skill levels. Outfits can be found based on what they stand for, what type of skill they're looking for, and the size of the outfits in general. Some outfits boast a massive 2,000 plus players and counting. This isn't necessary though. Lots of these giants can be stopped with a few small squads of extremely skilled players. If you want to play leisurely, there's an outfit for that. If you want to play competitively, there's also an outfit for that. Any player can find a home here in Planetside 2, even those that don't play nice with others. Lone wolves make a killing picking off victims on the outskirts of major fights. As I said before, there are similar vehicles and units, but unique vehicles and infantry units to each faction as well. The infantry classes are as follows. First we have infiltrators, which are great for sneaking, hacking, and causing mischief everywhere they go. Nail this class and you can be one of the top killers in a fight from behind enemy lines. These guys can cloak and go invisible, as well as set traps and beacons to detect enemy movement nearby. Want to be a long-range sniper? Then this is your class. Next we have light assault for getting into hard-to-reach places. These units are equipped with jetpacks and can fly almost anywhere for a short duration. They can sneak into windows and tough areas not available to any other class. They can often be referred to as fairies, as they like to drop gifts of C4 on unwary players and blow them to smithereens. The combat medic is a solid choice for any player that wants to play support or even in a front-line role. Combat medics can be very versatile and difficult to kill if their aim is true. Each faction's medics have the fastest carbines available and can shred enemy players in the blink of an eye. Not only are they dangerous, but they can revive and heal nearby players. They are truly a force to be reckoned with. Next we have the engineer, who is a sturdy and versatile unit that can range from a vehicle support to close-range demolitions experts. They have the ability to carry lots of mines or deployable turrets if wished. They can also repair friendly vehicles and terminals. The engineers are what keep a battle alive, throwing down ammo packs to keep everyone in the fight or throwing down a deployable turret and shredding faces. Next we have the heavy assault class. This class is built for killing other infantry and vehicles. Armed with shields that absorb enemy fire, they can take a large amount of abuse before going down. They are also the only class with the ability to carry rocket launchers, making them a necessity in the field for taking out enemy spawn locations and other pesky vehicles. Long-range LMGs make them a devastating enemy in mid to long-range fights, and shields allow them to dispatch enemies at close range, even if they get the jump on the heavy. Last we have the Max class, which is a mech suit built for an individual player. These act more as a vehicle, as they can be repaired by engineers to keep their health up, while also resurrected by medics if they go down. They can be mounted with deadly close-range anti-infantry guns, mid to long-range anti-tank guns, or massively devastating anti-air guns. The beauty is that these Maxes can be unique to each faction and has their own strengths and weaknesses. The Terran Republic's Maxes have incredibly fast fire rates and can mow down enemies at mid to close range. They can also lock down, which increases their rate of fire and reload speed. The New Conglomerate have tough Maxes that can carry a shield and close-range shotguns for support. They can also have laser-guided missiles that makes them a threat to vehicles. The Von Sovereignty have Maxes that are deadly in close proximity, but also have intense lasers that melt enemy armor. They have the ability to use the Zealot Overdrive, which increases their damage at the cost of damage received. But if you get the jump on an enemy with this, it's almost instantaneous death for them. Let's move on to vehicles. Like the infantry, there's a common pool of vehicles available to each faction. We'll talk more in depth about each vehicle in another set of videos, but for now we'll just make the basic introduction. Starting with the ground vehicles, we have the Flash. This can seat up to 2 people and is a very quick, small ATV that also has the ability to cloak. Commonly found with an infiltrator sneaking behind enemy lines or trying to run over people for fun, they can have a weapon mounted on the front, making them extra deadly. The front-mounted shotgun is the preferred tool for this vehicle. Next is another fast to mid-size vehicle called the Harasser. These are very fast and can use the same top-mounted guns as the main battle tanks. This makes them extremely deadly. They can have 3 riders, giving them the edge when full. Because of their speed, it's best to have a dedicated gunner and driver. And if you're lucky, have a dedicated engineer repairing from the rear. Using the thruster on this baby is fun for any driver, as some very wicked stunts can be pulled. The Lightning is our first tank that is common across all of our factions. It's a very quick one-man vehicle that has an extremely low profile. Great for peeking out shots over hills, they can be devastating when mounted with the right gun at the right time. Throw together a shot crew of Lightnings and they'll melt anything in their path. Next we have the main battle tanks, but all these are unique to each faction. The tanks are also two-seaters, so you can go on a joyride with a friend. The TR has a quick dual-gun battle tank known as the Prowler. This tank is fast and equally dangerous. They also have the ability to lock down, which increases their reload speed and fire rate, much like the max suit for this faction. Speed is the name of the game. The new Conglomerate feature a slower but heavier hitting battle tank known as the Vanguard. These tanks have the ability to shield, absorbing much more damage and can knock out most enemies in a one-on-one fight. Power and strength. Last in the main battle tanks, we have the VS tank, which is all but a spaceship called the Mag Rider. This tank has the ability to hover, making traversing through tough terrain an easy task. They also have jet boosters, which can thrust this tank away from or straight to an enemy. Versatility and agility is what we've got going on here. Next is the newest vehicle in Planetside 2 world, known as the Ant. This vehicle is used mainly for gathering the resource known as cordium throughout each continent. After gathering, a player can use this vehicle as a mobile workstation to start building the base of their dreams. If a player doesn't feel like building, then this vehicle can seat 4 and has the ability to shield itself or cloak, making it a difficult opponent if in the field and not seen. This vehicle can utilize the same top-mounted guns as the Sunderer if you need that extra oomph. Which brings us to our last and more specifically most important ground vehicle, the Sunderer. This is a 12-man vehicle that can deploy itself almost anywhere and become a spawn point for friendly units in the field. This allows your faction to load into the area that you're located and assist in the fight. Having multiple Sunderers is a smart route to go when you're on the offensive. Protect and keep the Sunday lines flowing, and you're sure to give the enemy one hell of a fight. The Sunderer can also be outfitted to restore health to other vehicles, as well as replenish ammunition to other friendly vehicles. Our outfit favors the Battle Bus Sunday as it is sturdy and can take a beating while dishing out punishment. Throw a few repair Sundays and battle buses into a caravan, and you'll have one heck of a pounding stick to hit someone with. From the ground, we go into the air. Starting off for each faction is a unique single-man fighter, also known as an ESF. These vehicles are mounted with essentially the same weapons, save a few, but differ in their flight and fight style. The TR have a quick and agile fighter known as the Mosquito. Unique to the TR is most notably the Banshee, which is a chain gun that shreds enemy infantry. Team this up with the Hellfire rocket pods and the ground forces will flee in fear. Starting to see the pattern in each faction? The NC have the Reaver, which can mount similar weapons, but what you'll see most of is the M30 Mustang 8H, also known as the Air Hammer. Considered cheese by many, this is a deadly weapon in close to mid-range for infantry units. One shot, one kill. Last is the VS ESF, known as the Scythe. The name speaks for itself. This is a low-profile, hook-shaped fighter. This fighter utilizes laser and plasma weapons that can tear apart enemy units. Ground infantry know all too well the sound of the vicious PPA firing down upon them. The splash damage can clear out small rooms, leaving no one alive in its path. Next we have a common aircraft known as the Valkyrie. This vehicle can seat up to 6 and is used to make tactical drops behind enemy lines. They're fast and agile and fly a lot like a helicopter. The pilot has no guns to fire, so their focus is solely on flying. Pair a good gunner with a pilot and this can be a devastating force in the air. The Liberator is a fearsome sight to behold. This aircraft can seat up to 3 and acts much like a bomber. The guns can be mounted differently to focus fire on vehicles, aircraft, or infantry. Either way, this is a beast of a machine and can cause a lot of damage in a very short moment. Seeing one of these ducking down for your Sunday is a terrible sight, and usually the vehicle is gone shortly after. Lastly, we have the infamous Galaxy. This is a behemoth of a ship and can be mounted with bulldogs to eliminate forces on the ground while being covered by anti-air fire on the top and the rear. These ships can carry up to 12 units and make perfect drop ships for large-scale attacks. Get 3 or 4 of these babies in the air and people know that they're bringing the pain. These ships can take a huge amount of damage, making getting them into hot zones a bit easier than other aircraft. The last feature I want to talk about is the new building system. This added quite a bit of changes to the game as it brought in gathering and construction as mentioned before. Some people love to farm resources and the building system has brought that to light. Throw one of these players in an ant and they're happy for hours farming that sweet, sweet cordium. Being able to build and defend custom bases is an amazing thing that a lot of games have taken to heart. This gives players a feeling of ownership and really intensifies combat in areas that used to never be touched. Yes, I believe Planetside 2 has something for everyone. Remember, this game is free to play and is totally worth giving a shot to. I found a group of people that I enjoyed playing with a couple years ago, and some of my favorite moments in gaming has been through this game. So hop in, join the fight, play around with the different vehicles and infantry classes, and you'll find something you like. Throw in some cooperative play with some friends, or join a random platoon to make friends, and I guarantee you'll enjoy your stay. I hope you all enjoyed this basic introduction to Planetside 2. Please remember to subscribe, and as we like to say, don't stop. Gabriel, signing out.